Today, I want to talk to you about some important news that affects taxpayers in California. As you may be aware, the deadline for filing your taxes is typically on April 15th. However, this year the deadline has been extended. The state of California has extended the tax filing deadline for most taxpayers. In this speech, I will discuss the details of this extension and what it means for Californians. The Franchise Tax Board, FTB, which is responsible for administering California's tax laws, has extended the deadline for individual taxpayers to file their 2022 state income tax returns to May 16, 2023. This extension applies to all individual taxpayers, regardless of whether they live in California or outside of the state. The extension also applies to the payment of any taxes due for the 2022 tax year. This means that if you owe taxes for the 2022 tax year, you have until May 16th to make your payment without incurring any penalties or interest. It is important to note that this extension only applies to individual taxpayers, not to businesses or other types of tax returns. If you are a business owner or have other types of tax returns to file, you should check with the FTB or a tax professional to determine your filing deadline. The extension also applies to taxpayers who make estimated tax payments. Estimated tax payments are payments made throughout the year to cover taxes owed on income that is not subject to withholding, such as self-employment income or investment income. Taxpayers who make estimated tax payments usually have to make their final payment by January 15th of the following year. However, due to the extension, taxpayers who make estimated tax payments for the 2022 tax year have until May 16th to make their final payment without incurring any penalties or interest. It is important to note that the extension only applies to the 2022 tax year. If you have taxes due from a prior year, you should still make those payments by the original due date to avoid penalties and interest. Now, let us discuss why this extension was put in place. As I mentioned earlier, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a significant impact on individuals and businesses across the country. Many people have experienced financial hardships, job loss, and other challenges that have made it difficult to meet their tax obligations. The extension is intended to provide some relief to taxpayers who may be struggling during these difficult times. In addition, the extension also gives taxpayers more time to gather the necessary documentation to file their tax returns accurately. With many people working remotely and dealing with other disruptions caused by the pandemic, it may be more challenging to gather all the necessary paperwork and file taxes by the original deadline. So, what does this extension mean for Californians? First and foremost, it means that you have more time to file your tax return and make any necessary payments without incurring penalties or interest. This can provide some relief for those who may be struggling financially due to the pandemic. However, it is important to note that if you are due a tax refund, you may want to file your tax return as soon as possible. The IRS and FTB are still processing tax returns and issuing refunds, so filing early can help you get your refund sooner. If you are unable to file your tax return by May 16th, you may be able to request an additional extension. However, this extension is only for filing your tax return and does not extend the deadline for paying any taxes due. If you request an extension, you will have until October 15th to file your tax return. However, any taxes due must still be paid by May 16th to avoid penalties and interest. In conclusion, the extension of the tax filing deadline is a welcome relief for many Californians.